Hi, this is Karen, and I am going to make a quick instructional video to show you how to make a no-sew rag rug. It's almost a no-sew rag rug, not quite. Anyway, this is what they look like after you've done about 18 rounds. There, that's better. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to start this. Starting is the absolute hardest part of this rug, and then you just go on making half hitch knots for as long as you can stand it. You only need 3 tools aside from strips of fabric for this rug. You need a needle, you need a pair of scissors, and you need some kind of tool that will act like a big needle so that you can fasten it onto your fabric and weave it in and out. I like using a locker hook, which is actually a tool made for another craft. They're really cheap. I think you can get them for about $4. If you don't want to go spend money on a locker hook, you can use a big bobby pin, or you can use, well, I've used a big barrette in an emergency. Don't ask me what a rug making emergency is. Anyway, here is the very, very beginning of the rug. Oh. No, it's not. Here. This is the very beginning of the rug. You have 3 strips of fabric. 1, 2, 3. These are all going to be braided together. Since I want to make a circular rug, I'm only going to make a braid that's about, I don't know, this long, maybe 4 inches long. Doesn't matter that much. Okay, this is the most forgiving craft ever, I promise. I'm going to make a hole in the end of each fabric strip so I can fasten these together without sewing. What I do is fold over the end, cut a slit that doesn't reach all the way to the end, and that gives me a hole in the end of the fabric. One more time. Oh, this one already has one. Anyway. What I do to fasten these together is take 2 of them, line up the holes like that, feed the 3rd one through to make a big loop. I think this is pretty easy to see. And fidget with it a little bit. And there you have the very beginning of the rug. You haven't had to sew a stitch so far. Okay. I assume everybody knows how to make a braid. If you don't, you can go look at it on YouTube. What I'm going to do is make a braid for about 4 inches. And then I'm going to take about 3 stitches with my little needle and thread. Or at least I'm going to pretend to. And then I will start building my rug around this little braid. Okay. Now we have a braid, a little bit of a braid, with some 3 strands of fabric hanging out from it. We are going to have to cut off one of these strands of fabric after we sew our braid at the bottom. Okay. What happens then is that we have a braid with only 2 strips of fabric hanging off the end. And we're going to lay this down on the table. We are going to work counterclockwise. We always work counterclockwise on these rugs. And start our rug by looping our fabric all the way around the braid. When you start it, the long strips of fabric are going to be facing upward. When I look at these 2 strips of fabric, I refer to them in my head as the inner strip, the one that's always not moving, the one that doesn't have a tool on it, and the one that's just sort of hanging down and facing me. and then the outer strip. The outer strip is always moving. It does have a tool on it, and it is not facing me. When I teach people to do these rugs, I teach them to kind of fold over the outer strip in kind of a 4 shape so that they can see what they're doing. Anyway, what you do is take this working strip of fabric. You're going to be wrapping the inner strip. You do that by finding the top available bump, that's what I call it, on the braid, taking your tool, I'll take a still photograph of this, taking your tool, feeding it through that top bump, front to back, bringing it back up. Maybe if I hold this up. Bring it back up, back to front, and wrapping the working strip, or wrapping the non-working strip with the green working strip. Okay, I'll do this one more time. Working strip has the tool on it. We're using it to wrap the non-working strip. We put it through the next available bump of the braid, front to back, and then we pull it back to front, and again we have wrapped that non-working strip. We'll end up with sort of a long oval here. We'll work down the side of the braid, take maybe an extra stitch at the bottom, work up the side of the braid, and then we'll have a little tiny oval of fabric to form the center of our rug. And we'll keep going, and I will show you on the big rug a few times. I need my tool. There we go. Okay. Here's my big rug, and the stitch is definitely clearer and easier to see on this one, but it's the same stitch, and we still are working counterclockwise. We still have a non-working piece of fabric that remains still and gets wrapped and doesn't have a tool on it. And we still have a working piece of fabric that has a tool on it that moves around a lot and is wrapping that inner piece of fabric. Okay, here's my working strip. I'll lay it out in this sort of a 4 shape, and I will go through the first available bump on the rug here. Go front to back, back to front, pull it up, and wrap the inner strip with the outer strip. Do it again. Make that 4 shape, take the tool and go through the top available bump, go front to back, back to front, wrap that inner strip, and again, what you're making are half hitch knots, so if you already know how to do that, you're way ahead of the game. You just need to, after you've done your centerpiece, after you've done your little braid to start your rug, you just need to do half hitch knots until you can't stand to do them anymore. Then, when you are ready to finish your rug, what you do, instead of doing the half hitch knot, is just take a stitch or two through the rug, but don't do anything fancy. Just do sort of a little wrap. See, no fancies. Just wrapping that inner strip a little bit. And then you tuck what you have underneath the rug, See how it kind of blends into the side of the rug there. It sort of starts to flatten out. Okay, you take those pieces that I tucked underneath, take maybe 5 or 6 stitches in them, and you will have a finished rug using only a couple simple tools, using rags, and you've only had to take maybe 8 stitches. So there is our no-sew rag rug, and I will put it on the blog and give you some still photos and hope that it works. Okay, only 10 minutes. That's not too bad. I had a 20-minute video earlier. That was agony. Okay,